We empower researchers to publish solutions to the world's toughest challenges and make $1.8 billion in doing so. We combine rigorous peer review, ethical publishing practices, and nearly $1.7 billion in revenue. Advancing human progress together by making $3 billion ourselves. All these scientific publishers boast that they are empowering research in some way or the other. But what does it mean to empower research through publishing? And how are they raking in such enormous profits with margins that are similar to the top tech companies? How can publishing papers that are mostly funded by public money and taxpayers be such a lucrative industry? Is that fair, or are they just leeching off one of the core fundamentals of humanity? Well, let's find out. To start, we need to understand how scientific publishing works. So if I'm a scientist and I have an important result, I want other scientists to see that, so they can read it, use it, and do further research. So I have to publish it. And you classically do this through a publisher that has a wealth of different journals you can choose from. And there are many reasons to choose one, such as whether the topic fits your study or on the impact factor. The impact factor is a number based on how often papers in a specific journal are cited. The idea is that the more citations a journal has per paper, the more impact that journal has on research. And this number is sort of seen as the standard of quality for a journal. Papers in high impact factor journals are generally seen as more impactful. They get more views and more citations. Now, whether this is a good system is another discussion, but it remains a very important number. One you could ask money for. So now that you have your journal, you have two options. One, you publish it as a subscription article, which is generally with limited charges, but does mean that readers need a subscription to access it. Remember this meme? Now, there are different models for payment here, like a decent monthly subscription, a 24-hour access for $100, or a $19,000 fee for a year. As a researcher, you will read and cite hundreds of papers from as many different journals. So as an individual, it would simply not be feasible to do science at all. Therefore, there's the other option, open access.
To publish your research open access, it means it's freely and immediately available for everyone around the world.
If you publish open access, the paper is freely available to anyone. You can go to any journal right now and read all of their open access articles. This is becoming the standard. Many funding agencies and institutes actually require you to publish open access, and there are more and more journals that are open access only. And this is a good thing, right? Free sharing of information benefits scientific advancement, but nothing in this world can be free. So for open access, you as the author have to pay a fee called the Article Processing Charges, or APC. And you pay this if your paper finally ends up being published in this specific journal. Wait, there's also a submission fee at some journals to just submit an article? Why is that? Of course, to empower the scientist. I never feel more empowered when I have to pay extra to a multi-billion corporation. Back to open access. These APCs vary quite a bit, dependent on the impact factor. For example, in the Cell family, which is part of Elsevier, APCs range from $2,000 to $10,000, with the higher numbers being for the higher impact factor journals. Painstakingly pasting all prices in Excel shows that the average price of publishing open access within a Cell journal is $6,776. Now, higher impact journals generally see less publications, and Cell is a quite renowned name, so the actual average is lower. The study I found estimated an average APC of $2,600 in 2020 across the top 10 publishers. And in my own experience, APCs start around 3,000 plus euros these days. So where does this 3K go? The person that handles your manuscript is the journal's editor. The editor will make an initial assessment of your paper, send it out to peer reviewers, and handle the overall logistics of your manuscript. So the APC is used to pay them then. Well, not really. A lot of editors are unpaid or only receive an reimbursement from a publisher. They do this work on the side of their academic careers. Now, there are full-time editor positions that have a paid salary by the publisher, especially at larger journals. This is not common though, and I tried to find some numbers and came across this study that sent out a questionnaire to 144 scientific editors. 36% of the correspondents did not get paid at all, and the majority got $10,000 or less. And they also spent 10 hours or less in the week editing. So it's predominantly something that's done on the side for many researchers. There is another important group of people handling your manuscript, which are the reviewers. They will go through your paper and assess if the scientific quality of the paper is high enough or you need to revise it. They can also outright say this is not to a publishable standard and it should not be published. So the reviewers play a major part in assessing the scientific quality of a paper and the decision making. And they spend a lot of time on handling your manuscript, probably the most out of anyone in this process. They are not paid for this. It is part of a senior scientist's role to also review papers. None of the APC goes to them. And that's a good thing. You want an independent assessment without financial reimbursement. But it still doesn't explain where the APC goes. Now for publication there are two more steps. If the editor and reviewer approve your paper, it is sent to a typesetter, who makes sure the textual style is in line with the journals. I've been told the typesetter is often a different company, so some of the APC must go to that. But 3K seems pretty steep for some now to probably be AI tool that converts your text and sends it back with a bunch of revision requests you as the author have to change. Is the money then spent on the physical printing of a journal when it's done? Well, no, not anymore at least. And yes, I did design, model and 3D printed this paper for this tiny bit. Wanted to try my new toy, okay? Most papers are uploaded as a PDF online and all interactions and citations are happening virtually. A lot of journals are even online only these days. And just like any newspaper or magazine, publishing on paper is reducing. And this is also seen in the numbers. In 2021, Elsevier reported that 84% of revenue came from online formats, which is probably even higher now. So to put it simply, you pay 3K for maybe an reimbursement to the editor, an AI typesetter, and the uploading and hosting of a PDF online. Which seems a lot. And it is a lot. A study on this very topic concluded that the average article should cost around $400 to publish in the current era, with $1,000 for the really high-end prestigious journals. So I'm starting to see where the profits are coming from. Especially if we start comparing to non-scientific publishers. Let's take Condé Nast or Condé Nast. It's a global publisher of, for example, Vogue and New Yorker. It has a reported revenue of $2 billion, and that's also a lot of wealth. But it has to pay its journalists, its editors, its photographers. It has to pay for all of its content. And it's actually reported as just about breaking even, after losing money for years. It doesn't ask for content provided for free by scientists, and especially doesn't ask money for that free content. Maybe scientific journals don't get money from advertisers because they can't run ads on their sites? Wait, do they actually run ads? Well, they also do apparently. So scientific publishers make exuberant amounts of money, while commercial publishers are still struggling to stay afloat? Seems a bit shady. On top of that, a lot of these profits are made on these APCs, and it sets a dangerous precedent. The more papers a journal accepts, the higher their profits. The CEO of Springer Nature was asked if paying for open access is a potential risk for reduction of scientific quality. To which his answer was, no, because our reputation is our most important asset, and that is determined by the quality of our publications. And although I want to believe in on his big blue eyes, the same company also just made over $500 million in net adjusted profits and are expecting increased revenue growth due to the rise in specifically open access publishing. On top of that, they have over 3,000 journals and published 2.3 million articles last year. I doubt they can control the scientific quality at such mass numbers, even if they tried. These multi-billion corporations are making extreme profits. And remember, most of that money comes from governmental funding or foundations, aka willing beneficiaries or taxpayers. The idea is to invest this in furthering human knowledge, make life better through new research, not to fill the revenue growth of these massive corporations. Now, you don't pay for these APCs personally. In fact, a lot of universities strike deals with publishers to make both the publishing and reading process free or discounted for their students. And indeed, for example, all these Dutch universities boast their open access nature of publications and agreements that waive or reduce the APC for many journals. Now, none of them seem to report the costs of those deals though. I found some articles on it, like this one from the Erasmus University magazine, stating that the Dutch universities spent a total of 43 million to publishers in 2017, which is almost 10 years ago. But back then they were already reporting a 7 million euro rise from 2015, so I can't imagine the numbers now. And interestingly, this data was only made available after 2 Freedom of Information Acts invoked by the Association of Dutch Universities. The matter was apparently taken to court by Elsevier and Springer to block the public release of this information, which definitely sounds like something a company empowering researchers would do. The shady nature of these deals is also reported by another article here on Science, showing deals of American universities. As you can see, these deals revolve around large sums of money, and remember, universities need to make deals with multiple publishers to get access to all the different journals. And again, the publishers were not adamant on releasing this data. I quote, "After several years of digging and even legal action, a team of economists has pried out some of the numbers." And interestingly, the link that has the file to all numbers is not accessible anymore. Practices of these companies are not just extremely expensive, but also quite, let's call it corporate. There's many reports on these practices. Elsevier's section on critics of academic practices is too long to read and navigate comfortably, both figuratively and literally, I think, and includes things like a whole editorial board resigning because Elsevier did not want to reduce APCs. An Elsevier journal that seemed properly peer-reviewed but was actually completely paid for by Merck and only posted Merck-favorable articles. Or the response of an Elsevier spokesman to an initiative by 11 EU countries to strive for free publishing. If you think that information should be free, you should go to Wikipedia. Or what about the entirety of Germany boycotting Elsevier by not submitting or reviewing to Elsevier journals? I'm starting to see that we believe that by working together with the communities we serve, we can shape human progress to go further, happen faster, and benefit all. It's total and absolute corporate bull. But worse, it is seriously affecting scientific advancements by making it way more expensive than it needs to be. As science budgets are being reduced everywhere, we are more divided on a political level, arguing who to blame for increasing costs and disagreeing on how to tackle it. Companies like these just continue leeching incredible sums of money of one of our core fundamentals, knowledge. So why don't we just stop? So why don't we just stop it? Stop publishing in these journals, as so many organizations, petitions and universities have tried. I think there are multiple reasons for this. One, it's simply very hard to get around the big guns. The top 5 publishers accounted for 56% of all publications. And to give an idea, Wiley has over 1,800 different journals and Elsevier nearly 3,000. That's just an incredible number. Also, publishing a paper in a high-end journal can make your career as a scientist. If you get a Nature publication, your paper gets seen as higher quality. It gets more views, you get cited more, the lab gets more recognition, making it easier to get more funding and do more research. You would be silly if you publish it in a low-impact journal that costs less or nothing. The importance of papers is still very much a deciding quality of success as a scientist. However, it's likely not these high-end journals that probably see less accepted publications that are raking in the money. The growth in revenue over the last years is attributed to the rise of open access at several of these publishers. So it seems that the sheer number of lower impact open access journals is where the money is. And it's these journals that are in the same family as the big boys that still ask for hefty APCs. These papers are not career makers, but the name and foundation of a Nature, for example, still makes them popular publishing platforms. And it's a lot about that name. And in my experience, journals that are less expensive or even both transparent and free publishing generally have a worse name among scientists. They are seen as less quality, even though that's not necessarily the case. Plus, the quality is not guaranteed by publishing at one of the big publishers either. Another point is that running a research group is already difficult enough. Getting in enough funding to keep doing research is a full-time, high-pressure job. Why risk losing your next grant and being able to continue your research and being able to pay for your own people by deciding to publish in lesser-known journals? Plus, science is quite conservative. A lot of decisions are made on gut feelings and association of names with quality. And the publishers can just leech of this high-pressure environment, which in turn makes it more expensive to run a lab, therefore making the workload to get sufficient funding to run a lab higher, therefore making it easier to leech off that high pressure, therefore making it more expensive to run a lab, therefore making it more difficult to get sufficient funding. Is it not feasible to change at all then? Well, my view is probably nothing is going to happen in these coming years. Even though more and more initiatives and concerns against these major publishers are emerging, their profits have also just been growing these last years. But there is one major part that I think cannot be overlooked. The entire system is run by scientists. The authors, the editors, the reviewers, the bulk of the work is done mostly for free. So I think it would totally be possible to do this without the intervention of a publisher. Because it sort of already is. The only thing is, to warrant any change, a lot of scientists, groups and institutes have to stand up together. Remember the Germans who all stopped using Elsevier? Well, Elsevier gave in on some of these demands, and they have determined a new publish and read model. Probably still far from ideal, but a better deal than previously. If enough people stand up, change is possible. So while the professional graphics telling us they are empowering scientists and advancing human knowledge, just remember that these are companies making extreme amounts of profits that are coming directly from public funding that is meant for actually advancing human knowledge. The next time you pay your APC, just remember that the majority goes straight into the pocket of one of these corporate execs. You decide if you think that's worth it.